Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I have a big stack of books beside me here today because I'm going to be talking about just a year-end review on this homeschool year. We're just finishing off we have finished, we're done, it's summer. We finished the 2022-23 school year and my children completed grade 7, grade 5, grade 4, grade 2, and my youngest was in junior kindergarten this year. So I'm just going to talk, mostly this video is going to just be about our curriculum, and I'll talk about our curriculum, a little bit about our schedule, and a little bit about our plans for this coming school year. So we're going to go ahead and jump in with Gather Round. And I have done a year-end review before and just talked about Gather Round as a whole, but I thought today maybe it would be helpful for some of you who are maybe considering Gather Round to just go through and talk about what we liked and didn't like about each unit that we did. So I'm going to start with where we started the school year, and that is with this unit, the farming and food unit. These lessons went through talking about all the different types of farms, like bee farms, cattle farms, sheep farms, fruit farms, coffee plantations, etc. It went into detail talking about how a farm would run, what location these farms would be in, the different kinds of animals, and then the storage and processing. It really went into a lot of details, and we really enjoyed this unit. One fun little extra thing it had was hot button topics. So each lesson had something controversial that it would just open-ended, like here is something controversial about these farms, whether it be like the pesticides, the environment that maybe these animals are living in, and it would just say, here is this controversial topic, what do you think? And so that unit was one of our favorites. The next unit we got into is this one, Australia and Oceania, and it started out great. Lots of information about, Australia and New Zealand, talking about climate and location, geographical location, talked about a lot of history of these islands. It got into, Papua New Guinea and Fiji and Micronesia. And by the end, it did get very repetitive. Some of the units we can go right through to the end and it just all feels, we don't get tired of it. This one, it just got repetitive by the end. It was like this one little island that my kids had never heard of. This is the climate. This is the environment. And it just went through and talked about a lot of those facts. And then the next island was just a similar thing. I felt like it was a bit dry by the end, and we probably could have done about 12 to 14 lessons in this unit rather than 20. And that would have covered all I felt we needed. That being said, we probably would do it again. I do really enjoy the connecting continent units, and the kids have learned so much through those. The next unit we did was dinosaurs. We were really looking forward to this one. Super duper informative, and it's from a Christian standpoint. It's not from an evolution standpoint, which is really, really hard to find. If you're going to be studying dinosaurs, you typically just know it's going to be talking about millions of years ago, and there's going to be a lot of that evolution worldview. That being said, in this unit, you are not shielded at all from the opinions and the beliefs of others, and I've really appreciated that. So it talked about creation versus evolution, and some people believe this. What do you think? Here are some Bible verses, and it just presented it in a way that it really made the kids think and not just accept, oh yeah, creation, evolution's wrong, as that's what we believe. But it really opened their eyes to what is out there and why people are believing different things. We learned so much about the different kinds of dinosaurs. By the end, I would say the last few chapters, again, were a little bit repetitive, but it's one that we would definitely do again. We did learn a lot through this unit. The next unit we did, another connecting continents unit, and this one is Antarctica. Now, I will say I went into this one thinking, how much information are they going to have about Antarctica? Like, how are there going to be 20 lessons all about simply the continent of Antarctica? I was pleasantly surprised with this unit. It was very history heavy, which we actually really enjoyed. So whereas the Australia one, it had a bunch of history, but it was more just geographical stuff, climate, ecosystem, that type of thing. Antarctica was a whole lot of history and the race to the South Pole and the discovery of Antarctica. Rather than focusing on the locations and climates, it was focusing on these real, tangible stories about individuals. And we, surprisingly, this was one of our very favorite units of this year. The next unit we went on to do, are we already this far? Yeah, so we did 6 full units, so that was 4 so far. There are only 2 left. So the last 2 years that we've been doing Gather Round, so not this year, the 2 years prior to this, we did a Christmas unit and an Easter unit, but we did those twice, and I thought this year we're gonna not do the holiday units. We'll just keep going through our regular units. So this one is Living Off the Land. We loved this unit. Easy to understand, simple lessons. One thing I really liked about this one actually is that the lessons were very short. Some of the lessons in other units, I would end up skipping a little bit here and there because it was just a ton of reading and a ton of heavier information. Living Off the Land was pretty light, talked about the Oregon Trail and living in those pioneer times, and some of that my kids were like, oh yeah, we learned about that in, you know, A Little House in the Prairie or some other history books they read. There were lessons on clearing land, protection, foraging, preserving. We did watch a bunch of videos to go with this one too. There were a few videos on YouTube that we watched, you know, people dressing up as pioneers and showing the process of, you know, building a log cabin. So that was informative, and we, like I said, we really enjoyed that one. So on to the very last unit we did this year, and this is one, you know, sometimes you go into it and you're like, oh, I'm looking forward to this unit. I think it'll be a great one. Might be a little disappointing. Other times you're skeptical, but it's good. So this is one, Sports and PE. I thought that we would absolutely have an elastic. I forgot that was on my hand. I thought we would absolutely love this one. I just thought sports, activities, like the kids are gonna really enjoy this. Now, let me start by saying this was our last unit. You know, we did this end of May, beginning of June. And so we're already like itching to be done with the school year, you know, and kind of like, let's go, let's just finish. We want to be done with school. You know, it went through and talked about all the different sports: basketball, baseball, football, tennis, sports in Russia. It ended off with obscure sports and combat sports. So much information. It went through and talked about all the rules for each sport. So like 1 page for each lesson was all, here's how it's played. Here's how many people are playing. Where do you play this? What's the field size or the rink size? What are the rules of the game? How do you win? And so on. That was just, it was very informative, of course, but very wordy. If I was to do this unit again, I think I would just, and I did often, if it was a sport we knew about, I skipped that part. If we did this unit again, I would probably just watch a video and show someone else explaining it and actually showing, because it's hard to understand all the rules and how a game works just by listening to the words. I think you need that visual. For each chapter, there was always one story of an athlete who persevered or dominated in that sport, and so that was really interesting. The lessons in this one were a bit long too. We did watch a lot of videos, and that was fun. Some of the sports that the kids hadn't heard of before, we were watching videos, and that would, like, we finished this unit and then we did the last day of school, right, you know, right at the end of it. And the kids were talking about their favorite things they've learned this school year, and they were all talking about the obscure sports because that's how we'd finished the year off, with that obscure sports lesson. And so they'd watch some video of people playing, like, what was it even called, the things they were playing? I don't even remember. But we watched these videos and the kids were laughing and they loved it. So there were parts of this unit that we did really enjoy. The videos were very helpful, and it did not get boring by the end. There was so much variety in each lesson, it didn't get repetitive, and so that was fun. And so I think part of it is just that we were ready to be done with the school year, but I also just, something with like the layout, and it wasn't our favorite unit. Now, all I've talked about today are the Gather Round units. teacher's guides. Each of the kids also have a workbook. And so some workbooks we liked better than others as well. Just the different projects and stuff they were doing, the different assignments. And so I was like, I'm not gonna go into that much detail. Maybe that would have been helpful, but that's just all the reading portion I talked about today and how we enjoyed each of these units for that aspect. Okay, the next thing we'll talk about is handwriting, and each of the kids this year did the Good and the Beautiful handwriting. I bought this online and printed it up. Sprinkled throughout, there are like Bible verses and phrases, even for my younger one, to copy out, like Jesus loves me. That is a really fun aspect of these books, is that Christian element to it. Also, I love the art pages they have throughout. So it'll be like, write out this phrase, copy this out, write down your favorite thing that you did this week, and then at the bottom draw a picture of what your bedroom looks like, or something random like that, but they incorporated art, which was really fun. So in the past, this is it our second year or first year doing this one? I don't even remember. I think a couple of the kids did it last year, but before that we were always doing Handwriting Without Tears, and I have a hard time comparing the two because we love Handwriting Without Tears. I would say visually I probably still prefer Handwriting Without Tears. But both are really good, and I haven't decided for sure what we're doing for handwriting next year. Next is language arts, and this was our first year using the Good and the Beautiful language arts. Now, I printed this up early last summer, and they came out with updated, revised versions a little bit after I had printed them up. So this is the old version I'm going to be talking about today. From what I've heard, the new versions are a little bit closer to grade level. I would say these are all quite advanced. My kids were all doing a language arts book that was below their grade level, which is fine. They're always progressing, and that is what I'm aiming for. But I did think that they were a bit advanced for their grade level. The new books apparently are a bit less heavy too. So when you get, well, this was free. So the language arts books are free online. I had to print them up myself, but they are big books. When you order the language arts hard copies, you also get readers, I believe, with it, a spelling book. There's a lot that goes into this language arts curriculum, and I kind of picked and chose what I wanted my kids to do. I didn't really want this to be their full language arts curriculum. I have other readers for them to do. There's a whole bunch of writing they already do in Gather Round, and so I wasn't wanting this to be a full language arts curriculum, so I picked and chose a few pages that I wanted them to do, not printing up the whole massive book. So because of that, there were things we loved about it. There were a lot of things we loved about this language arts. I think my kids learned a lot about grammar and vocabulary and spelling. There were a lot of really good things. It was a little bit confusing, I think, sometimes, because it was like, okay, I want you to do this page here. Maybe the bottom half of the page says, now write out your spelling words from your readers. And I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna skip that page. Oh, there's also a lot of art incorporated in the printable, and I skipped a lot of the art pages. So I kind of like picked and chose, but I think that made it a little bit like all over the place. And so I don't know for sure what we're gonna do next year. I feel like we have to kind of do all or nothing. Like, I'm either gonna just, okay, fine, we'll do full language arts curriculum, or we'll just pick something else altogether. As you can see here at the bottom, like if you look at the, can you see the bottom there? Like that's what it says is all in these language arts books. So it's a lot. Anyway, so there are other curriculums I've looked into, you know, just finding a different vocabulary book, a grammar book, and so on. So we'll see. I haven't, again, I feel like I probably should wait till the end to say this, not right in the middle here, but I would say I'm like the most unsure about next year that I've ever been. At this point of the year, I'm still thinking I have so much research to do before I fully decide what we're gonna do next year. There are things that were for sure staying the same. I'll maybe talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video. But now on to math. So my 7-year-old finished grade 2, and so she finished Matthew C. Betta. The front cover falls off every single year. We never make it to the end of the year and still have front covers on these books. This is Matthew C, and we love Matthew C. I'm a little bit sad to leave the curriculum for Zara though, because in grade 3 we do always start teaching textbooks. That's the math that my older 3 used this year. And I feel like it's a necessity for me to go to teaching textbooks because it's more independent and I cannot be marking all of my kids' math. It's just too much. I think that's just something I need to outsource sort of to do this teaching textbooks math on the computer. And we love teaching textbooks, we do. And so that's worked really well for my older ones. They are independent. We had to stop a couple times this year and just kind of review things, you know, like, okay, you're not really understanding and grasping division. Let's stop and go over this. And so we'll just do a bunch of extra work. Or my younger one doing multiplication had to stop for a little bit and just do a whole bunch of wrap-ups and flashcards and stuff to really review multiplication. The teaching textbooks course are very simple to use. I can go into my teachers portion and I can check the grade book and see how my kids are doing. If I need to delete questions because I want them to redo them or delete a whole lesson. There's been a couple times one of my kids is like, I got 7 questions wrong that lesson, and I'm like, okay, you're not grasping something. So I go in and I can just delete the whole lesson and then sit beside him, watch the lecture and help him through that. And how it works is that you purchase it and you have access to the program for 12 months, which is always definitely adequate for completing a full level of math. But then back to Matthew C. We love Matthew C as well. And my youngest, Wesley, is going into kindergarten, so I will be getting him the Matthew C primer book. It's very, I was gonna say dry, but I don't feel like that's the right word. The pages are very basic. They're not colorful or fun. They're just basic, but it has worked so well for all of my kids. They have learned so much. So that really is the end of our curriculum. That's the materials that we used this year. For this coming school year, my oldest, of course, is going into grade 8, which is so hard to believe. And like I said earlier, I have a lot to figure out for exactly what we're using for curriculum. I kind of want to switch up. Oh, I didn't talk about Bible curriculum. I thought I brought one over. If I'd seen it, I would have remembered. We use, I don't know where it went, but we have a Bible curriculum that I've put together, and it has like our catechism, a whole bunch of different memory work like books of the Bible, the 12 disciples, the days of creation, all these different things that we've been going through and memorizing. We've been reading through the Psalms. Some days we'll do a sword drill. We always do Bible memory work and we sing a hymn. And that kind of is how our Bible time has looked this past year. We've done this basically exact same thing the last 2 years. So I think I want to, again, switch that up this fall. We're definitely still doing the catechism because I still want to go through and have the kids memorize the full catechism. We're definitely still doing Bible memory. But other than that, I'm not sure. I kind of feel like maybe it is time to go back to a full Bible curriculum with Bible stories and studies. This Bible time has really brought on some great conversation. It's such a special time. I love this morning time of the day where we dive into the Bible. I'm thinking of maybe doing hymn study in the fall. So I still have to kind of figure that all out. So like I was talking about with my oldest going into grade 8, I'm still a little bit unsure what we're going to do for him for his curriculum as well. I'm sitting on my foot and it's falling asleep. So let me just shift a little bit. Gather Round we love. I love the lessons. Reading it, even to my oldest, like it's great. He learns so much. The workbook part of it, as they get older, it's very open-ended, which I love the idea of it, like the open-ended research, but I do feel like it ends up being more on me to be like, okay, now I want you to research this. Okay, that's not enough. It's less like open and go for him because he does have to ask me like, okay, how do I research this? And I feel like I have to be helping a lot with that. And I mean, part of that is just him getting older but I feel like sometimes he just needs a little bit more. He loves to learn. And sometimes I just think, this might sound a little bit funny, but sometimes I'm like, wait, why are you already done school? I feel like you don't have enough. I feel like you should be learning more direct requirements where he has just a bit more to do. I don't know if that makes any sense. But I know he is capable of a lot, and as he's heading into high school. So I'm not sure exactly what we're gonna do. I'm still gonna be reading the Gather Round lessons to him, but maybe he'll do some extra like history on the side or geography on the side, like creative writing, more writing projects. I'm not sure how that will all look, but this is all the stuff that's running through my brain right now, and that I have to be thinking about and figuring out over the next number of weeks. The other thing I want to switch up a little bit in the fall is our schedule. I still have been kind of doing every subject every day, and I think I need to change that up a little bit because sometimes it's just too much, and I've been cutting out things like reading aloud. I have been reading aloud, but I'll be looking at my clock and like, okay, I only have like 10 minutes to read aloud, and then we have to get to our other subjects. And I think I'm trying to pack too much into one day. And so my scheduling, I think, will look a little bit different in the fall, but that's kind of an overview on how our school year went. I hope that was informative, and stick around because I will be posting curriculum hauls for this coming year. They are not going to be out early this year. They're going to be later than usual. And one reason for that is that I need to buy a new printer. I had just started printing one of our units to start putting together so I can film a video soon, and realized, no, I think it's just time for a new printer. Our printer has printed 18,000 pages, it says, but I think it's time for a new one. So those curriculum hauls will be coming at some point, but I need to close this off because this has been a long video. Thanks for watching if you stuck to the end, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye-bye.